Hey everyone, now for today's recipe, I'm going to be putting a modern twist on the classic Jamaican braised oxtail. It's going to be so good, it's going to be so savory, it's going to be so flavorful. It's going to be cooked down in a delicious red wine reduction, and I'm also going to be cooking it down in some chicken broth instead of beef broth because the chicken broth is going to add such depth of flavor. You're not going to want to miss this. So this is my version of red wine braised oxtail, and I hope you like it. So our first order of business here is to trim and cut our oxtail. Now I usually have them cut in 1-inch round chunks like you see here, and I usually have this done at the butcher shop because the bones are super tough and it's hard sometimes to cut through. So save yourself the aggravation and have it done at the butcher shop. Now, a rule of thumb for me when buying oxtail, I usually go to the butcher shop because I like to buy the whole tail as opposed to buying those pre-packaged packs in the grocery store. That way I know that my oxtail is all from the same animal. Now, oxtail can be quite fatty, and usually I don't trim off all the fat because I feel like it does add to the flavor in the final product. But of course, how lean you want your oxtail is completely up to you. Okay, so now we are ready to rinse off our meat. We're going to go in with some cool tap water, and you want to make sure you have enough water to cover your oxtail. And I'm also going to go in with some white distilled vinegar. I'm going to allow this to sit in this mixture, this solution, for about 30 seconds, and then I'm going to drain this off in the sink. Now while you're at the sink, go ahead and turn on your cold running water and rinse your meat at least 2 times. Drain it each time, and then return to your countertop or your work area. And then you want to grab some clean paper towel, and then you want to start patting your meat dry to remove all of that extra moisture to get it ready for marination. So now we're ready to start seasoning up our meat. We're ready to create that delicious marinade. So first I am going in with my custom seasoning blend, and of course I do have a tutorial live on my YouTube channel of what's in it and how I put it together. Feel free to go ahead and check that out. I will link it in the video description for you, and I'll also have it on the iCards upper right corner. Now this is my holy grail of seasoning, and I do put it on everything, and I do mean everything. This just really enhances the flavor of your food, and I almost never cook without it. So after my custom seasoning blend, I am going in with my all-purpose seasoning. I'm going to go in with some onion powder and some garlic powder, and of course I'm going in with some fresh black pepper as well. I'm going in with my crushed pimento seeds, and I'm going to be using my pink Himalayan salt. Of course, the choice of salt is completely up to you. I'm going in with some soy sauce as well for flavoring. I'm going to add some browning, and that's going to give it that beautiful caramelized color that we want. And I'm going to top it all off with a light layer of vegetable oil. So now once we have all our powdered seasoning and our liquid flavoring agent in our bowl on our meat, you can use your bare hands, or you can throw on some gloves like I did, and you want to massage all those flavors into your oxtail until all the pieces are completely covered and loved up in this delicious marinade. So now that that's done, we want to cover this nice and tight. So I usually use a cling wrap. Now you can use whatever you have that will seal the top of your container to keep all the flavors in. You want to allow this to sit for 4 hours. Overnight is best. The longer it sits in the marinade, the more flavorful it's going to be. So now we're ready to get into our cooking process. You want to remove the meat from the refrigerator at least 30 minutes before you're about to start cooking to allow it to come down to room temperature. This will allow for even cooking. So now when you're ready, grab your heavy bottom pan. I am using my cast iron Dutch oven pot. You can also use your Jamaican Dutch pot because you already know it was built for this life. You're going to add your vegetable oil and allow this to heat up over medium-high heat because we are going to be searing off our oxtail. So of course I'm using my favorite oil hack to let me know that my oil is ready. I've inserted my chopstick, and once I see those rapid bubbles at the base of my chopstick, I know my oil is ready and I am good to go. So now that our oil is nice and hot, we are now ready to sear off our meat. This is going to allow for that beautiful caramelization, and it's going to allow us also to seal in those delicious flavors. Now we're going to sear these in a single layer, and we are going to allow them to sear for 3 to 4 minutes on each side. And depending on the amount of meat that you're working with, you will probably have to do this in batches. Now I'm going to be working in a total of 4 batches, and once that's done, I'm going to set my browned or seared off oxtail. I'm going to set that to the side. So now that we're finished searing off our meat, we're going to go ahead and start sauteing our veggies. But before we do that, go ahead and reduce your flames to medium-low and just remove any burnt bits that's in the oil. And of course, if you need to add additional oil, you can go ahead and do so right now. We're going to be sauteing down our veggies. So you're supposed to have your veggies divided into 2 sets. So we are going to be doing the first set right now, and then we'll use the second set or the second batch later on in the cooking process. So we want our oil to come down dramatically because we don't want our onion and garlic to burn. And of course, I'm using my chopstick to check my oil temperature. What I'm looking for is tiny bubbles at the bottom. You don't want to see those big roaring bubbles like we had before when we were searing our oxtail. So once we're seeing those tiny bubbles at the base of the chopstick, then we know our oil is ready and we are good to go. And now we are ready to saute our veggies, and I must tell you, this smells so delicious right now. You can smell the thyme already as soon as it hits the oil, and it is just so good. So we have here a combination of yellow onions, we have some garlic, we have our fresh thyme, and we have some green onion as well. And we want to saute these down for about 2 to 3 minutes until our onion is nice and soft and becomes translucent, and that way it releases all those delicious flavor in our oil. Now halfway through the cooking time, we're going to go ahead and stir in our tomato puree. Now I'm actually using tomato paste because that's what I have on hand. So I went ahead and added a little bit of water and mix it in to thin it out a little bit, and then I'm just going to go ahead and add that in. Now it should look something like this. Everything is nice and combined, and our veggies are nice and soft. Now I'm going to go in with my red wine to be glazed, and I'm using Merlot, but of course you can use whatever your favorite red wine is to be glazed. Now, all deglazing means is adding liquid to the pot to loosen up those caramelized or brown bits that's at the bottom of the pot. That way we can use it to flavor the dish. So we're going to grab a wooden spoon and we're going to stir to combine to make sure everything is nice and incorporated. So now we're going to allow this to continue to cook on our medium flame, and we want our liquid to reduce by half. That means we want the volume in the pot to be half of what it is right now. Now here's my wooden spoon hack that I like to use when I'm doing a reduction. I take a wooden spoon and I dip the top part into the liquid to use it as a gauge to see where the liquid is right now. And then I usually physically mark the spot where half of that volume would be. That's where your liquid needs to end up. Now you also want to stir this occasionally just to make sure that your nothing is sticking and burning, and you want to stay close just to give an eye on everything as well. So now that our wine sauce or our wine mixture has reduced, you can see the physical changes. The color has deepened and the mixture is now much more thicker and richer than it was before. So this is perfect. This is the exact consistency and changes that we're looking for. Now I'm ready to add some additional ingredients, and I'm going in with my oyster sauce, which is going to add that umami flavor. I'm also going in with my dry bay leaves, and I'm going to be dropping in a whole Scotch bonnet pepper. You can also use a habanero as a substitution. Now, I am going to be leaving this pepper whole because I am not looking for that raw heat, just looking to extract the flavoring from the skin. But of course, if you love that heat, go ahead and bust the pepper. So now I'm going in with my chicken stock. Now, I know it's weird to be adding chicken stock to a beef dish, but trust me when I tell you, it adds such a depth of flavor, you're not going to want to miss out on it. I think I may have forgotten to tell you not to rinse the container that you season the oxtail in. So what we're going to do is to just leave back a little bit, like about an ounce or two of our chicken stock, and we're going to pour it in just like I'm doing right now. And then you just want to switch it around to get all that seasoning and flavor that's still lingering in the container, and then we're going to dump everything in our pot. That way we don't waste anything. Now we're going to add our oxtail to our pot, and oxtail is a very tough meat, and it could take upwards of 2 hours to 2.5 hours to cook until pork tender. But what we're going to do, we're going to check this every 30 minutes. So you're going to need a timer for every 30 minutes because we want to check our liquid level to make sure that we have enough liquid in there to cook our oxtail. And we also want to make sure that nothing is sticking and burning. So once we add our oxtail in, we're going to cover our pot and allow it to cook. And then we'll check back at our first 30-minute checkpoint. So now we have arrived at our first checkpoint, and we're going to go ahead and check on our meat, make sure nothing is sticking and burning, and make sure that we have enough liquids to continue to cook our oxtail. Now everything looks good, so we're going to go ahead and return the cover to the pot and allow this to cook for another 30 minutes. So we've arrived at our second checkpoint, which means that our oxtail has been cooking for a total of 1 hour. And we're going to go in and check our liquid levels, and we're also going to make sure that nothing is sticking and burning. I'm also going to remove a piece of oxtail from the pot just to check the tenderness level. And as you can see, our oxtail is definitely softened up a little bit, but it's still not as tender as I would like it to be. So we're going to allow it to cook for another 30 minutes. So we're going to return the cover to our pot and put another 30 minutes on our timer. Now we have arrived at our third checkpoint, which means that our oxtail has been cooking for a total of 1 hour and 30 minutes. And we're going to go ahead and check our liquid levels and make sure nothing is sticking and burning and everything looks good. Also, you can see some physical changes in the oxtail where now it's starting to separate from the bone, which is great, which is exactly what we want. So we're going to go ahead and add our carrots, and we're going to go in with the rest of our vegetables. So I'm also going to remove my pepper because it looks like it's on the brink of bursting, and I definitely don't need that in my life. I'm also going to do a taste test just to make sure it tastes exactly how I want it to. But remember that we're cooking this down with some broth, which already has salt in there. It comes with its own flavor. So in my case, it's perfect as is, but you can taste yours. Always taste your gravy and make sure it tastes exactly how you want it to and make the necessary adjustments. I'm also going to add some butter for flavor, and then I'm going to set my timer for 30 more minutes, and then I'll check back once my timer goes off. So we're at that fourth checkpoint, which means that our oxtail has been cooking for a total of 2 hours. Now we're going to go ahead and check the tenderness of the carrots, which I know they're cooked, but I'm going to check them on camera for you guys. And I'm also going to check the tenderness of our oxtail, which I know at this point it is pork tender, but I'll check that on camera as well. We're also checking to make sure nothing is sticking and burning, and the gravy looks good. It's nice and rich and thick, which is exactly what we want. And I'm removing the sticks of thyme. I tend to cook with a lot of thyme, a lot of fresh thyme, and that means there's going to be multitude of sticks in there. So you definitely want to take those out because nobody eats that. Now check out this gravy. Look how rich and thick that is. That is perfect. That is exactly what we want. And now we're going to check on our carrots, and no disappointment here. That's good to go as well. So that's 2 for 2. And now for the moment of truth. And here you have it, guys. Look how tender that is. Look how easily it separates from the bone. This is exactly what we want. We have a delicious hot red wine braised oxtail. And as always, I want to thank you for tuning in and hanging out with me today, and I hope you will give this recipe a try as well as give this video a thumbs up. Now, if you still haven't subscribed to my channel, I invite you to subscribe right now and hit that notification bell. As always, one love and stay blessed, my friend.